You've probably been told that you need to eat a balanced diet in order to be healthy. That it's all about balance. Balance this, balance that. You need a variety of X, Y, and Z in order to be a healthy human being. But what if I told you that the balanced diet that everyone preaches nowadays wasn't balanced at all? And that the true quote unquote balanced diet isn't what you think it was. In this video, I'm going to explain to you why what everyone preaches isn't balanced at all. And I'm also going to share with you what I believe and from what I've learned about what the true, balanced diet actually is. So with that, if you don't know me, my name is Keegan, and I talk about my experience with diet and nutrition and just what I've learned about it. And I make these videos to help out my younger self who was kind of clueless and dumb about diet and nutrition. And so I make these to help him out and anyone who wants to learn about it as well. So with that, let's get into the video. Let's talk about definitions first off. What the heck does balanced mean? Because everyone fucking preaches it. What the hell is a balanced diet? Like everyone says, oh, you need to have a balance, like balance, right? But a balance of what? Right? Like balance of good and bad, balance of like, what does it mean? So from what I've looked up and what I've researched, really what a lot of people say is that you need a variety of X, Y, and Z and a variety of vegetables and fruits and all of these sorts of different foods so you can get enough nutrients to survive. Okay. But let's go a layer deeper than that. What do you actually need to survive? Okay. You need essential vitamins and minerals, you need essential fatty acids, and you need essential amino acids, right? That's really what they're trying to get at whenever they tell you to have a balanced diet. In order to get all of those essential nutrients, that's what you should be consuming. Like you should be consuming X, Y, and Z to get the essential nutrients to survive. Okay, it's weird because whenever you look it up, they don't just tell you that. They'll say, oh, you need to have a balanced diet of fruits and vegetables and fucking colors. What the heck is the nutrient purple? It isn't a nutrient. I'm sorry. I just get kind of a little bit mad about this whenever people say, oh, you need to have a variety of colors. Like, how does that relate to the nutrients that we need to survive whatsoever? Like, I get it. Maybe it's because it's like, oh, it's a fruit that has, this sort of mineral in it and it's red. Okay, cool. But literally, like, a lot of things can have different colors and not be good for you. Like spray paint. That's not good for you, but it can be purple, right? Like, I don't know. Again, like I'm not promoting eating spray paint because there is no nutrient quality in there, bro. I don't know. I don't understand it, but that's what they're trying to get at, is that you need a certain balance of nutrients in order to survive, okay? So that's what you need. That's the baseline, that you need essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, and you need vitamins and minerals, and water, of course, which brings us to the next part of this video, which I'm going to just explain to you what these vitamins and minerals are and where you can kind of get them from and why the quote-unquote balanced diet of vegetables and fruits and some meat in there, I just don't believe that cuts it for the balanced diet. I don't think that, calling that balanced in terms of looking for the nutrients that you want, I don't think that actually, cuts it. I don't think it makes the cut, if that makes sense. So anyways, let's move on to what we got listed here. So the first essential nutrient that you need to survive is water, okay? And you can get that in some foods. I mean, you can get that in basically every sort of food unless it's like dried out and like jerky or something. But really, you should just be drinking water. So it isn't really relevant. But moving on, let's talk about the vitamins and minerals that you need. Okay, so you need a bunch of vitamins, first off, and you need a bunch of minerals. There is a variety of letters, so like A, C, D, vitamin E, vitamin K, vitamin B. There's lots of vitamins that you need to survive. And there's also a lot of variants of these things. And my main problem with this so-called balanced diet is that whenever you don't consume enough animal products, because a lot of these people, they'll suggest that you don't eat, fatty meat. They say, oh, have, like chicken and this thing and that thing. And that's cool. Those things are fine. But the thing is whenever you exclude other things like fattier cuts of meat, like red meat, then you start missing out on, like those are the more nutrient dense cuts of meat. And whenever you replace it with stuff like vegetables and stuff, then you don't really get, the same, constellation. You don't get the same amount of vitamins that you could otherwise. And so here's a fun fact. If you eat something like carrots, right? A lot of people say, oh, you get vitamin A you get vitamin A from carrots, right? They're good for your eyes. And so you'll see some memes of people like sticking carrots in their eyes. Vitamin A is essential, right? It's an absolutely essential vitamin. But the thing is carrots, even though they have a form of vitamin A, it's not the animal form. The form that we use as humans is called retinol. The thing that is in carrots is, I believe it's called beta-carotene. And you can convert beta-carotene into retinol, into the actual usable form. But the thing is that conversion isn't 100%. Like, you don't get a one-to-one conversion. And certain people aren't able to convert vitamin A from beta-carotene at all. Or they're deficient, like they just can't do enough of it. And so the thing is, like, you need to get vitamin A from animal sources, right? And you can get the amount that you need in the usable form from stuff like meat. Granted, maybe it's not a ton, but if you get it in the actual usable forms, you don't need to convert it. You don't have to go through the entire process and have a super inefficient form of vitamin A entering into your body, let alone if you can even convert it in the first place. So I would say that's just one example, right, of vitamin A with the usable form. Other people will say, oh, but vitamin K you can get from kale, right? The thing is vitamin K from kale is K1. That's not the usable form in our body. Again, we can convert it into K2, which is the actual usable form, but if we don't get enough of it, then we can't convert it. We don't convert enough of it, and we're then deficient, right? But you can get enough from animal products like dairy and meat, and like dairy and meat basically. So I would say, just on the vitamin side of things, just those two examples alone, you can't really get enough of the vitamins that you need from freaking plants. And I think the biggest example of that is probably B12. If you only eat exclusively plants, you cannot get B12. Okay, so you need to get B12 from an animal source, right? Or some whack supplement, right? But if we're talking just whole food here, right? A whole balanced diet, right? You can't get B12 from plants. So in my opinion, and from just looking at this and using my brain, it just doesn't make any sense why I would need to eat vegetables for their vitamins, because you don't really convert a ton of them. Like, the efficiency isn't that great. And it's just a couple of these vegetables that have the certain vitamins that we need, okay? So that's the first thing. But moving on to the minerals aspect of this, you get all the minerals that you need from meat, okay? That's just the baseline. Like, you can get all of the minerals that you need from meat. But whenever you move to vegetables, yes, there are certain minerals and good things in there maybe that you could find. But the thing is that along with the minerals in these vegetables, there's also certain compounds in the plants themselves that bind up these minerals, and you can't absorb them. So whenever you're eating a vegetable, right, you may think you're getting like calcium or something from some spinach, right? But the thing is that spinach has compounds in it that binds the calcium, it binds the magnesium, it binds all the good minerals in it that you need, and it just passes through. And worse yet, some of these chemicals can get into you and strip your body of calcium. It can strip your body of magnesium. Like, if you drink coffee, for example, that's a bean, it has anti-nutrients in it that bind to magnesium in your body and pull it out. It strips you of magnesium. It depletes you. So that's just it's actually a negative, it's a negative net on the minerals that you get whenever you're eating these things. And so I think that's also it also kind of disproves this, like, oh, balanced diet, because if you're eating these things, you're actually losing the nutrients that you need to survive. That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention though is the vitamin C. So a lot of people will say, oh, but if you don't eat, like fruit or plants or whatever, you're gonna miss out on vitamin C and you don't get any scurvy. The thing is meat has enough vitamin C in it. It's just a very, very small amount. And if you don't eat other things like carbohydrates, for example, because, hang on, let me finish that point. If you don't eat carbohydrates, you'll actually have enough vitamin C to do the things that it needs to do. And the reason for that is because glucose and vitamin C look like they're very, very close, like structure wise, and so they compete for absorption in your gut. And so if you stop eating glucose, you'll absorb more vitamin C, and so you'll need less as a consequence for that. So I would say that's another argument for why you should stop eating carbs, but we'll get to that in a second. But moving on, let's talk about essential amino acids, right? So protein. I think this should be pretty obvious. Meat has all the protein that you need, right? Like it has all the essential amino acids that you need. I believe it's 9. 3, 6, 9. Yes, it is 9 essential amino acids. A quote unquote complete protein has all of these things that you need. And some plant sources do have these, right? So if you do a balanced diet, a variety of, meats and plants and those sorts of things, you should be covered in terms of protein. But here's the thing about protein, especially whenever it comes to plants. Only a portion of it is actually bioavailable. So I believe they've done studies on people who have had their colon removed, and basically they eat food, it goes through their small intestine, and then it comes out in a bag, right? They've done studies on these people just to see what actually gets absorbed, and they found that a vast majority of meat protein, right? So like beef, chicken, lamb, something like that, a vast majority of that stuff gets absorbed whenever you're just eating that, right? And just a little bit of water comes out the other end, meaning you absorbed the vast majority of it. And they also did it with some plant proteins, like I would guess soy, tofu, and just plants in general, right? They found that those plant proteins didn't get absorbed nearly as well as the animal proteins did. And so there's this concept of bioavailability. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with the minerals, but you can't break down a lot of these plant proteins. You can't absorb all of them. So you'll be needing to eat more, just have more go through you in order to actually get the appropriate amounts to, survive and to thrive. And that's just I just don't think it's great to be stuffing yourself full of tofu and shit. I just I just can't see why that would be a good idea to do when you could eat I don't know, some fish or a steak and get the same amount of protein absorbed and eat way less food total overall. But moving on to the essential fatty acids, if you do a Google search of this, Google will tell you that it is alpha linoleic acid, and linoleic acid is the essential quote unquote fatty acids. But that's only because we don't make those. But the reason why we don't make those is because those are the plant versions of omega-3s. Those are the things that plants make. The versions of omega-3 that we need to survive is actually called EPA and DHA. And I believe the reason why they say that we need to eat the freaking ALA and LA is because technically we can make EPA and DHA, and we can convert it from ALA, but what doesn't make any sense there is whenever you go one layer deeper, right? The conversion rate of ALA and LA to EPA and DHA is so fucking low. It's so astronomically low. I think at the high end, it's 5%. 5%. And so I did this kind of a hypothetical situation on, in order to get the recommended amount of EPA and DHA, which is the animal usable versions of the omega-3 fatty acids that we need to survive, right? In order to get enough of that, to convert enough of the ALA into the actual usable things, you would need to eat 200 grams of chia seeds daily. And that equates to 980 calories. nearly 1,000 calories of chia seeds in order to get the recommended amount of fatty acid per day. Or you could just eat some fucking sardines. Or even you could just eat some red meat. Because fatty fish has some of the highest stuff, some of the highest concentrations of the essential fatty acids like EPA and DHA, right? That stuff is really, really good for us. Red meat, it doesn't have nearly as much as fish does, but it has, a relatively small amount of the actual usable forms, so you wouldn't need to eat nearly as much of it compared to 200 grams of chia seeds. But yeah, it's EPA and DHA that are really the actual usable forms, and you can get those just in a so much more efficient way from fish, from meat, even though there's not as much as in fatty fish like salmon. So yeah, I would say that it's just complete nonsense. I would say that's complete nonsense. So I don't think you need to have any sort of like weird plant oils or whatever as a part of a healthy, balanced diet, as they say. All right, and this brings us to the last essential vitamin, the essential nutrient, carbohydrates. Wait a minute, there is no such thing. So some people will say, and if you do a Google search, some results will pop up with, oh, you need to have fiber. But here's the thing. One, in terms of carbohydrates, we make carbohydrates. If you don't eat carbohydrates, your body will make it, and therefore it will regulate it a lot better than you trying to measure out each gram of rice and, having to worry about the glycemic index or whatever, anything like that. Your body will regulate its blood sugar perfectly fine if you don't take in exogenous carbohydrates or just eat carbohydrates. Like, you won't have to worry about that. Your body will regulate it perfectly fine. And some search results will say, oh, but you also need to have fiber. Why? Just like, if you can answer why and and if you tell me something like, oh, but it's for digestive health. Why? You cannot digest fiber. All it does is bulk. It's just waste. It's just crap. You cannot break down fiber. Therefore, you cannot absorb it. You cannot bring it into your body. So what it does is it will just pass through your small intestine. It'll pass through your colon, your large intestine, and then you'll poop it out. And sometimes it will actually block the absorption of actual beneficial things, right? I think the reason why so many people say fiber is good for you. Oh, fiber, you need fiber, you need fiber. There's probably a ton of studies out there saying fiber is great for you. But on who? If you're eating junk food, I actually think fiber is a good idea because fiber will block the digestion of food, right? But if you're actually trying to be healthy and you're eating what an actual balanced diet would be, there's no need for fiber because you're getting all the nutrients you need and nothing that you don't. You're not eating crap. So I think it's a case-by-case kind of situation. I think fiber would be essential if you're eating garbage, but in that case, you're already kind of messing up on, a couple fundamental levels. But overall, fiber is not essential. Okay, you do not need to eat fiber. People will say, "Oh, but you need to have it for your gut." Like, you will be you just won't be pooping as much because you won't have as much waste if you're not eating garbage and crap. Fiber is not essential. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. If there was, I would be dead because I don't eat carbohydrates at all. Okay, so there is no need for carbohydrates, and I really don't think there's any need for fiber if you're eating the right things. What does an actual quote-unquote balanced diet look like? I think you already know where I'm going with this. I kind of dogged on plants this entire time. So here's what you can do for a quote-unquote balanced diet. Technically, what you could do is some form of an elemental diet, which you can basically have a bunch of weird minerals and proteins and shit in this smoothie and drink that, and technically you'd be fine. Technically that's a balanced diet because you're getting all of the balance of nutrients that you need in the ratios that you need them, right? So if it was this big smoothie with all of the stuff that you needed and nothing that you didn't, technically that would be balanced because it has all the balance of the things that you need. Probably wouldn't be that enjoyable though, to be honest. But I want you to think, just kind of based off of what I was talking about in this video, what would an actual food item be that would have basically all of the nutrients that you need in a day. Meat. Like I said it like a bazillion times in this this video. Meat. Animal products, right? So that could be a steak or maybe some fish, right? Some like a fillet of salmon or something like that. That's really what a balanced diet would look like, is just that. Because you wouldn't have any of this extra nonsense, blocking absorption of minerals. You wouldn't have any of this extra nonsense blocking the absorption of just the food in general, fiber. And you would get all of the essential fatty acids, the essential protein, amino acids. You get all the essential vitamins and minerals that you would need, and nothing else. So that's why I made this. That's why I made this video. Really, is that that's what a balanced diet would actually look like. And I hope that kind of answered the question of what a balanced diet actually is, because that's what it actually means. It doesn't mean to eat a variety of fucking colors, right? Because if I ate a variety of colors, I could go out into the woods and find some colorful berries, right, that are probably toxic for me, and then what, right? I would suffer, because even though I'm eating a variety of colors, I'm not anywhere better, right? So that's why I'm making this video, and I just wanted to debunk this, because I hear this a lot in my life. Oh, but it's all about balance. It's all about balance. A balance of what? What does that fucking mean? Okay, this is what it means. It means to have a balance of nutrients that you need to survive. And that's what a steak achieves. That's what a fillet of fish achieves. That's what a roast achieves. That's what meat achieves, okay? And so I would heavily, heavily recommend you to try eating more meat in your life. I'm not saying that you need to completely cut out like the vegetables and the fruits. If you like those things and you're healthy and you're having a great time, okay, cool. But this whole balanced diet stuff, technically a balanced diet is just a steak. So I just wanted to make this video to clear that up and to maybe inform you about that. So yeah, I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you've maybe learned something. And yeah, I would heavily, heavily recommend you eat a more meat-heavy diet, a ketogenic diet. And if you need help getting onto a ketogenic diet, then that's why I've made a course down in the description that you can check out. It just kind of covers what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, and how you can stick to it long term to actually reach the benefits. So yeah, with that, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.